There are people in this world who feel everything. They feel the joy before the laughter, the sorrow before the tears, the tension in a room before a single word is spoken. They are the ones who wake up heavy, not because something terrible has happened, but because they can sense the undercurrents of life moving through them. Waves of emotion, energy, memory, and meaning that others never even notice. To them, life is not a surface to walk upon. It's an ocean to swim through. Every encounter, every sound, every glance from a stranger leaves an imprint. And yet, these are the same people who often feel misunderstood, too sensitive, too emotional, too much. They are told to toughen up, to stop overthinking, to let things go. But how can you let go of something that never lets go of you? Carl Jung once wrote that the deeper the sorrow that carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. For those who feel deeply, this is the paradox of existence. Their sensitivity is both a wound and a blessing, a cross they carry, and a light that guides them. This is not a weakness. It's an ancient intelligence of the soul. It's the capacity to see beneath appearances, to sense truth in silence, to feel life, raw, unfiltered, and real. If you are one of those who feels too much, this message is for you. Because you are not broken. You are simply awake in a world that is still asleep. This is the psychology of people who feel too deeply. A journey through the unseen landscapes of the human heart, told through the wisdom of Carl Jung's philosophy and the timeless truth that your sensitivity is not your enemy. It is your path to wholeness. 1. The weight of feeling. Too deeply, there are souls who don't just experience life, they absorb it. Every whisper of emotion, every flicker of energy, every subtle shift in another's tone moves through them like a current. To feel deeply is to live in high definition. Colors are brighter, sounds sharper, love more sacred. But pain, too, cuts sharper and lasts longer. For the deep feeler, silence can be deafening, and joy can feel almost overwhelming. They exist between worlds, the visible and the invisible. Carl Jung believed that some people are born more attuned to the unconscious, that vast inner realm of emotion, symbol, and instinct that most people never truly meet. Deep feelers live closer to that realm. They pick up on what's unspoken. They sense when someone is hurting, even behind laughter. They feel the collective sadness of humanity, as though their heart were a mirror reflecting everyone's hidden truths. And yet, they often feel alone, because very few can meet them at that depth. But their sensitivity is not fragility. It's perception. It's awareness. It's the ability to hold both light and shadow, and to see the divine pattern beneath the chaos of existence. They are the silent observers of human nature, the empaths who carry invisible stories in their chest, the dreamers who sense the pulse of life beneath ordinary moments. And though they carry the world within them, they must learn the greatest truth Jung ever revealed, that no soul can truly awaken until it learns to carry both its darkness and its light. 2. The hidden wound behind sensitivity. Every deep feeler has a story that shaped their depth. This kind of sensitivity rarely appears without a reason. It is often born in the quiet corners of childhood, in rooms where emotions were too loud to be spoken or too dangerous to express. The child who felt unseen learns to notice everything. The child who felt unsafe learns to sense everything. And so, the deep feeler is born, not as a gift, but as a defense. Jung said that what we call personality, often begins as a survival strategy. Your empathy, your insight, your intuition, they were not random traits. They were the ways you kept yourself safe in a world that did not always understand you. You learned to read faces, to detect tension in a parent's voice, to sense danger in silence. You felt deeply because your body and soul had to. And now, as an adult, you carry that same ability, but the danger is gone, and the habit remains. You still feel everything, everywhere, as though you must decode every emotion to stay alive. Yet hidden beneath this gift is the original wound, the pain of being unseen in your depth, of feeling more than you were allowed to express. You became the one who understands everyone, but rarely feels understood. Jung taught that true healing comes when we revisit these forgotten places, not to relive the pain, but to honor the self who endured it. When you look at your sensitivity not as a burden, but as your soul's wisdom, you begin to heal. Because what once protected you can now guide you. 3. The shadow of the deep feeler. Every light casts a shadow, and the brighter your light, the deeper your shadow becomes. Deep feelers carry immense compassion, but also repressed anger, grief, and fatigue. Because when you constantly absorb pain, you eventually drown in what you never release. Jung's concept of the shadow explains this perfectly. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of us we've hidden. And for sensitive souls, the shadow often contains their power. You may appear calm, kind, and patient, but beneath that calm is the storm you never allowed yourself to express. You may say, "I'm fine," when you're breaking inside, because you fear that your depth might overwhelm others. But what you suppress becomes your prison. You can't selectively numb your feelings. When you silence the pain, you also silence the joy. Jung believed that integration, not perfection, is the goal of the human journey. To face your shadow is not to destroy it, but to embrace it. Because within your darkness lies the strength you've been searching for. When the deep feeler learns to love the parts they've hidden, the anger, the longing, the exhaustion, they stop being ruled by them. And in that moment, their sensitivity becomes their power. Their depth becomes their anchor. Their empathy becomes their truth. 4. When empathy becomes exhaustion. Empathy is sacred, but when it turns into overextension, it becomes self-betrayal. Deep feelers are masters of emotional translation. They can sense what others need before words are spoken. They fill the silence. They carry the weight that others refuse to touch. But there comes a moment when the empath's heart begins to whisper, "I am tired of bleeding for those who will not heal." Carl Jung once wrote that when we live too long in the outer world, serving, pleasing, performing, we lose connection with the inner world, the self. And the self, neglected, begins to call out through symptoms: fatigue, numbness, sudden tears, the quiet wish to disappear. These are not weaknesses. They are signals. They are the soul's way of saying, return to yourself. Empathy without boundaries is not love. It is erosion. You are not here to fix everyone's wounds. You are here to understand the wisdom within your own. To feel deeply is not to drown in others' emotions, but to witness them, honor them, and then release them. The deep feeler's work is not to stop caring. It's to stop confusing caring with carrying. There's a difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. Compassion holds space for others while remaining centered in truth. Self-sacrifice abandons the self entirely. And the self, Jung said, is sacred. It is the divine core of our being. the meeting point between the human and the eternal. So if you have spent years healing others, understanding others, listening to their pain while ignoring your own, it's time to return home, because true empathy begins with yourself. The moment you turn your compassion inward, your light becomes stronger, steadier, no longer a flicker in the storm, but the fire that leads you through it. 5. The gift beneath the pain. There's a reason people who feel deeply often suffer before they awaken. Their emotions are not just reactions, they are messages. Each wave of pain carries meaning. Jung taught that emotions are not obstacles to enlightenment, they are pathways to it. Your sadness shows you what you value. Your anger shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Your anxiety shows you where you've lost trust in yourself. And your empathy shows you where love still lives within you. You were never meant to numb these feelings. You were meant to translate them, to turn pain into wisdom, confusion into clarity, and heartbreak into understanding. There is beauty in this transformation. The deep feeler's greatest strength is the ability to find light in what others fear. They can walk into darkness and come back with truth. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole. To integrate every part of yourself, the joy, the grief, the shadow, the light, until nothing within you is rejected. People who feel deeply are natural alchemists. They turn emotion into art, suffering into compassion, solitude into self-knowledge. But the gift of depth comes alive only when you stop running from it. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel, and you cannot transform what you do not face. So sit with your emotions. Let them speak. Behind every pain, there is a message. Behind every wound, there is a teacher. In Jungian psychology, this is how the unconscious communicates, through the language of emotion and symbol. And those who feel deeply are its translators. You are not too sensitive. You are fluent in the forgotten language of the soul, and that fluency is your superpower. 6. The journey toward wholeness. There comes a time when every deep feeler must make a choice. To keep drowning in emotion or to rise, not by numbing, but by understanding. Jung said that wholeness does not come from light alone. It comes from embracing the totality of who we are, the fear, the desire, the pain, the dreams, the contradictions. Most people chase happiness, but deep feelers crave meaning. They don't just want to live. They want to understand why they live. They want to make sense of their chaos, to give purpose to their sensitivity, to turn their inner storms into symbols of growth. This is the path of individuation, the soul's evolution through awareness. It is not a destination, but a continual unfolding, a sacred dialogue between you and the life within you. Along this journey, you'll begin to realize something beautiful. You don't have to heal into perfection. You only have to heal into honesty. When you stop pretending to be fine, when you allow yourself to feel what's real, you step into authenticity. And authenticity is freedom. Deep feelers, when awakened, become the healers of their generation. Not because they save others, but because they embody what true healing looks like. Living openly, vulnerably, courageously, without shame for their sensitivity. The world needs this energy now more than ever. Hearts that can feel truth in chaos, souls that can see beauty in pain, people who can sit in silence and still hear the voice of meaning. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to reveal what it means to be human. Wholeness is not about escaping emotion. It's about letting emotion guide you back to yourself. 7. You are never too much. You are just awake. There's a moment every deep feeler reaches when they finally stop apologizing for their depth, when they stop saying, "I'm sorry for feeling too much," and instead whisper, "This is who I am." And in that moment, everything changes, because you realize you were never too much for this world. This world was too numb to meet your depth. Jung believed that people who feel deeply are not fragile. They are the pioneers of consciousness. They experience the unseen so that humanity may remember what it has forgotten, that feeling is not weakness, it is wisdom. To feel deeply is to live fully. To cry is to cleanse. To love fiercely is to awaken the divine within you. You are not here to suppress your emotions. You are here to channel them into art, compassion, purpose, and truth. You are the bridge between the seen and the unseen, between pain and understanding, between the self you once hid and the self you are becoming. And maybe that's what Jung meant all along, that the soul is not healed by avoiding the darkness, but by walking through it with open eyes. So if you feel too deeply, don't close your heart. Don't harden yourself to fit into a shallow world, because one day the world will rise to meet your depth. Until then, remember, you are not broken. You are not weak. You are not too much. You are simply awake. Awake to the mystery, awake to the beauty, awake to the truth that every emotion you feel is proof that you are alive. You were never made to drown in your depth, so don't be afraid of how deeply you feel. Don't curse your sensitivity. Train it, shape it, use it. Because the goal is not to stop feeling, it's to feel without losing yourself. You weren't made to drown in emotion. You were made to navigate it, to walk through storms and still trust the compass within your soul. Your sensitivity was never meant to weaken you. It was meant to awaken you, to show you what others can't see, to make you aware of beauty that ordinary eyes pass by. Yes, you feel more, but that means you see more, you understand more, you connect more deeply with life itself. Carl Jung believed that every person must walk through the darkness to find the light within. And maybe that's all your depth ever was, a call to step into that light. So don't numb yourself to survive, rise above to live. Don't close your heart to protect it, strengthen it through awareness. Every feeling you've carried, every heartbreak, every ache, every tear, was never there to break you. It was there to build you. Because when you finally learn to hold your emotions without being consumed by them, you become unstoppable, grounded, clear, whole. The world doesn't need people who feel less. It needs people who can feel deeply and still stay centered. You are that kind of person. You are the bridge between chaos and calm, between pain and wisdom, between what hurts and what heals. So lift your head, breathe deeply, and remember this truth. You were never too much. You were simply born to feel what others fear to face. And that, my friend, is not a weakness. That is your power. The Psychology of People Who Feel Too Deeply, inspired by Carl Jung. Voice not of a teacher, but of a mirror, reflecting the soul of everyone who has ever felt too much and loved too hard.